The world of endurance racing has had plenty of iconic drivers in its history, ones that have managed to garner several incredible titles in their career. Racers like Alan McNish, Derek Bell and Tom Christensen, just to name a few. Whether they be class wins or the overall triumph, these drivers seem to eat success for breakfast. There is though one driver who's had a similarly distinguished endurance racing career, but perhaps hasn't had quite the same legendary-like status that the previous racers have had. This is the story of Lukas Luhr. Lukas was born in the German town of Mülheim-Kärlich. Sorry if I've messed up the pronunciation there. Now obviously, when you're born in a place where the word car is included, spelling inaccuracies aside, you're bound to want to have a career in some form or another relating to automobiles. And perhaps inevitably, Lukas did end up wanting to be a driver. Beginning his car racing career in single-seaters like most drivers, his results were decent, but nothing that made him stand out. He then transitioned to sports cars, and immediately he showed his talent. Now a factory Porsche driver, Lukas won the 1999 Porsche Carrera Cup Germany title, pretty comfortably, beating the likes of Jörg Bergmeister, Frank Stippler, and a certain ace safety car driver in Bernd Mailander. From that, he got the call up to race in the American Le Mans series the following year, and once again, his impact was immediate. Driving for Dick Barber Racing in a GT class Porsche, Lukas ended up winning the first race in his class, at the Sebring 12 Hours no less. Considering his lack of endurance racing experience, an impressive start, but things would get a fair bit better as the year would go on. He'd notch up a few further wins during the season, and would end up getting second place in the driver's standings in the ALMS GT class. For the same team however, along with co-pilots Dirk Müller and the late Bob Wollek, he'd remarkably end up winning the LMGT class of that year's Le Mans 24 Hours. His first year in endurance racing, and it's fair to say that he had already made his mark. In fact, it was still a pretty impressive year when you take into account one tiny detail that I missed. That Le Mans victory doesn't exist in the record books. The car would end up being disqualified because of an illegally sized fuel tank that was discovered during the post-race inspection. No matter though, he'd be with a different team in 2001 for the ALMS, that outfit being Alex Yoeb Racing, and the year started very well for him. 3 wins from the first 3 races, including another GT class win at Sebring. But he and his co-driver, Sascha Maassen, wouldn't win another race for the rest of the year, leaving Lukas 4th in the driver's standings at season's end. There was also to be no Le Mans outing that year for Lukas, but I guess he made up for that by winning the GT class of the Daytona 24 Hours instead, with White Lightning Racing. For 2002 though, it was a complete annihilation of the field. With the same team and co-driver as last season, they would finish on the podium in every single one of the 10 races in that ALMS season. Bar one DNF at Mid-Ohio, but let's not focus on that too much. And in those races with 9 podiums, 7 of them were wins. He would though return to Le Mans for this year however. Driving for the Racers Group in the GT class, he would cross the line first, alongside co-drivers Kevin Buckler and Timo Bernhardt. And this time the win stayed a win. 2003 would also prove to be a very dominant year. Alongside Sascha Maassen, they would end up winning the Sebring 12 Hours again, and they'd be victorious in 5 out of the 9 races that season, never finishing lower than 4th position. Then at Le Mans, driving with Sascha Maassen and Emmanuel Collard, along with competing under a joint effort between Alex Yoeb Racing and Peterson Motorsports, the trio would win the GT class, and comfortably so too, with a 7-lap buffer over their nearest rivals. Clearly, the American Le Mans series was just too easy for Lukas, so he went off to Europe and raced in the FIA GT series, racing in a Porsche once again in the NGT class, albeit he would still make some starts in the ALMS in 2004 all the same. Driving alongside Sascha, he would be racing for Freisinger Motorsport, and this time they would be up against some stiff competition. Said stiff competition came in the form of their teammates, who were the pair of Emmanuel Collard and Stefan Ortelli. And for a while it looked like Collard and Ortelli were the ones who would take the championship, but a retirement at the last round, along with Maassen and Luhr finishing second, meant that the German pairing would end up the champions, by just 3.5 points. It's not like they were undeserved champions though, because out of the 11 rounds, they were the winners of 6 of them. Lukas wouldn't be looking to retain his title in 2005, But he would head back to the ALMS to win yet another class honour at the Sebring 12 Hours, this time in the GT2 division for Peterson White Lightning Racing with Patrick Long and Jörg Burmeister. And he also had time to notch up another prestigious win at another race, this time at the Spa 24 Hours in the GT2 category, this one being for Group N Racing with Mike Rockenfeller and Mark Lieb. Most of that year though was away from competitive racing, because he would be joining the Penske Porsche team. No, not this one. Nah, that's more like it, the amazing Porsche RS Spider in its very distinctive yellow livery. Lucas would be helping develop the car throughout 2005. And in the car's first race at the final ALMS round at Laguna Seca, Lucas and co-driver Sasha Masson would win the LMP2 class. I mean, it's not a bad partnership between those two, you've got to say. In terms of 2006, let's just say the pairing were having yet more success. Out of the 10 rounds, they may have only won 3 of them, but they never finished off the podium, which helped them hugely in winning the LMP2 title in the LMS that season. Back in Europe, and Lucas added yet another win to his already impressive collection, an overall victory at the Nurburgring 24 Hours in a Manthey Racing Porsche alongside co-drivers Timo Bernhardt, Mike Rockenfeller and Marcel Thiemann. Lucas at this point was seemingly unstoppable, but in 2007 he was going down a new pathway. After being associated with Porsche most of his career, now he would be a factory Audi driver. Sports car racing though would be a far less frequent occurrence. His main campaign was in the DTM, driving a 2006 spec Audi A4 for Team Rosberg, and this would be his first real blip in results, scoring a single point in the round at Catalunya. He wouldn't compete in the DTM after 2007. However, he would be gunning for the overall honours for the first time in his career at Le Mans, driving the almighty Audi R10. His race though would last just 23 laps, after co-driver Mike Rockenfeller would crash the car heavily at Tetra Rouge. He would race the car again at the Petit Le Mans, finishing 4th. He'd also make a rather random appearance for the Peterson White Lightning GT2 Ferrari at the Laguna Seca ALMS round, but wouldn't finish that race. So 2007 was, shall we say, the first off-colour year for Lucas. Was this some sort of Audi curse perhaps? And if so, would that continue into 2008? Well, as it turned out, absolutely not. Out of the 11 races, 8 wins and 2 further podiums. Surprisingly though, none of those wins were either at Sebring or Road Atlanta. But unsurprisingly, he and co-driver Marco Werner were the overall ALMS champions. A better result at Le Mans too, 4th place overall. With Audi lessening their involvement with the ALMS in 2009 as they were introducing the new Audi R15, 2009 was a fair bit quieter for Lucas. In the 2 ALMS starts he did do in the R15 that season, he'd get 3rd at Sebring and 4th at the rather soggy Petit Le Mans. He would though get a class win at the Nürburgring 24 Hours in a GT3 spec Audi R8 alongside Pierre Caffer, Christian Abt and Jean-François Emerol for the Abt Sportsline effort. However, an attempt for the overall honours at the Le Mans 24 Hours would go sour. Whilst running in 3rd just before nightfall, Lucas lost the car coming into the Porsche curves, ending up hard into the tyre wall. The number 2 car was classified as a DNF. As to what caused the incident, I can't find anything definitive about what happened. It could have been a suspension issue, a puncture, or maybe even driver error. However, I can't find anything more conclusive than that. 2010 would be a quieter year again for Lucas. He got 3rd overall at the Daytona 24 Hours and earned 2nd in the LMP2 class at the Petit Le Mans in a Porsche, but his Audi career would come to an end. For 2011 though, he would be racing in the FIA GT1 Championship in a JR Motorsports run Nissan GTR. Alongside co-driver Michael Krum, the pair would win the title by 17 points. He'd also compete in all the ALMS races in 2011 with the exception of Baltimore. Driving one of the awesome V12 powered Lola Aston Martins, of the 8 races he did do, he won 4 of them, alongside Klaus Graf, but retirements at Sebring and the Petit Le Mans hurt their championship aspirations, Graf coming 2nd in the driver's standings, with Luhr in 3rd. He'd also finished 6th in the GTE Pro class at Le Mans with Flying Lizard Motorsports. He did also collect another overall victory at the Nürburgring 24 Hours in a Manthey Racing Porsche alongside Timo Bernhardt, Romain Dumas and Mark Lieb. Meanwhile, 2012 was mostly spent stateside for Lucas again, Competing in the Grand Am series on a not quite full-time basis, he would earn a victory at the Watkins Glen short layout alongside Ryan Dalziel. But it was in the ALMS where Lucas put on a crushing display. Alongside Klaus Graf at Muscle Milk Pickett Racing, driving a Honda V8-powered HPD ARX-03A, mouthful of a name, isn't it? They'd finish on the podium at every race, bar Sebring, collecting the ALMS crown with 6 wins from the 10 races in the P1 division. Just not quite collecting the win at the Road America round, however. But I will put a link in the description to the conclusion of that race if you haven't seen it, as it was sports car racing at its finest. 2013 would play out even better. 10 races, 8 wins, and another overall ALMS crown for Luhr and Graf. The 2 races they didn't win were Sebring and the Petit Le Mans. He also earned another class win at the Nürburgring 24 Hours in a Manthey Porsche, alongside Timo Bernhardt, Romain Dumas, and Mark Leibergem. Now that sounds somewhat familiar, doesn't it? During that year though, Lucas would take part in quite a new form of endurance racing to him, a roughly 2-hour event at Sonoma for the IndyCar series. I mean, I guess this is a form of endurance racing, right? Driving for Sarah Fisher Hartman Racing, Lucas's lack of experience in this sort of car kind of showed. Understandably, of course, yet qualifying with the slowest time is not the sort of thing that you would associate with this guy. He was largely off camera throughout the race, but he would retire through an engine issue on lap 81 and be classified in 22nd. It's so far been his only IndyCar start. 2014 was another one of Lucas's quieter years. He did the first few rounds of IMSA after the ALMS merged with Grand Am for this year to become IMSA. He'd end up 5th at the Daytona 24 and have a retirement at Sebring. He did though make a few other starts in Europe, which were an indication of what the 2015 season would be like. After some outings in GT3 spec BMW Z4s, for 2015 Lucas was racing for the Rahal Letterman Lanigan run BMW team, racing a GTE spec Z4 in IMSA in the GTLM class. Competing in the 24 entry alongside John Edwards, their season was okay, finishing 5th in a championship with 4th at Daytona, 4th at Sebring, and 2nd at the Petit Le Mans, along with a win at Laguna Seca. Beside that though, he did add another success at the Spa 24 Hours, winning overall in a GT3 spec BMW Z4 alongside Nicky Katzberg and Marcus Pautala in an effort operated by Mark VDS. For 2016, Lucas will be back in the LMS alongside John Edwards, but in a new BMW, a GTLM spec M6, a fairly big race car as you can see, albeit ultimately beaten somewhat in the size department by its successor, the M8 GTE. However, things didn't go to plan. Out of the 11 races, their best finish was 3rd. Their next highest finishing place was 2 6ths at Sebring and Road Atlanta. Couple that with 3 retirements, one of which was coming at the Daytona 24 Hours, it would result in a fairly dispiriting 9th place in the GTLM Championship standings. Mechanical gremlins seemed to be a particular issue with that entry though. However, at the end of the season, a different sort of issue would hit the German. After the IMSA banquet, Lucas was arrested for supposedly having a wee outside a gas station and public indecency. He was released not too long afterwards on a $600 bond. Banks County Sheriff's Lieutenant Carissa McFadden said, while he was speaking with the deputy, it was noted that Luhr was unable to keep his balance and that an overwhelming odour of an alcoholic beverage emitted from his person. Now, I can't find any more information about this story. I can't find anywhere to say if Luhr was punished by IMSA in any way or what further developments there were in the story in general. He hasn't competed in IMSA since, but it could simply be that he hasn't been offered any further opportunities to race in the series since his unspectacular 2016 season. In 2017, he competed in a few races around the Nordschleife in a Fricadelli-run Porsche GT3 car. He also raced in the Audi Sport TT Cup for a special race full of either current or former Audi factory drivers, known as the Race of Legends. He had a full-time season in the 2018 ADAC GT Masters driving for the Iron Force by Ring Police team alongside co-driver Jan-Erik Sluten. However, they'd end up scoring no points throughout the whole season, with a best finish of 17th in the first Sachsenring race. He'd returned to Iron Force Racing in 2019 alongside Jan-Erik Sluten, before Jan-Erik was replaced by Marco Holzer after round 3. The pairing did score points, collecting 9 of them with some top 15 finishes. However, after that season, he hasn't been racing since. with the exception of the first round of the Euro NASCAR Series in 2022 for Racing Fuel Motorsport. He finished a very solid 8th in his first race, and 17th in his second race, but that is where his racing journey is at so far. He is still active in the world of cars though, working at the time of this recording at an automobile repair/dealership in Switzerland. His achievements though, I feel, have been largely forgotten in the world of racing in general. I think it's only right that we just go through his list of accomplishments one by one. 2 class wins at Le Mans, class and overall honours at the Spa 24 Hours, a class win at the Daytona 24, 5 class wins at the Sebring 12 Hours, overall victories at the Nürburgring 24, a class and overall championship in the different FIA GT guises, and the most successful driver statistically in ALMS history, with 7 class championships, 3 of them being overall, and with 50 class wins to his name, along with collecting another class win when it became IMSA. In the world of sports car racing, there are very few drivers with a record like his. He demonstrated that he had a huge amount of ability, and particularly in the Porsche GT cars, he seemed almost unbeatable. There may be some of you who are saying that a lot of his ALMS wins came when the top class of the series wasn't all that competitive. Perhaps that's true, but he still earned 20 wins alone in his Porsche GT days. And after the ALMS domination years, he was still part of a BMW team that won one of the most competitive and prestigious races of them all. He's certainly a sports car icon, and one that has certainly, in my opinion, been long forgotten. That, however, is going to be it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any opinions on Lucas's career, and indeed any other drivers you think have had successful careers that have gone largely unnoticed, then say down in the comment section below. However, until the next video, be kind to each other and enjoy the rest of your day.